Salvete omnes, this is the Martian Geek, and it's time for one of those talkie videos. I just had a couple things that I wanted to bring to attention, no new Let's Play announcements or anything. Though I will say that special project I mentioned last time definitely got pushed ahead. Hopefully I can just do it in 2026. First off, I haven't expressed my thoughts about the Switch 2 yet, even though it's been out for a few months. I have a Switch 1, got quite a bit of use out of it, so will I buy a Switch 2? Well, not yet. Currently, there just aren't any games on it that I care enough about, and can't get on the Switch 1 or Steam, to be worth buying a whole new console for. Donkey Kong Bonanza looks somewhat interesting, but it costs $70. And I'm not sure how much I'd even like it. It's basically a collectathon, and that genre has had way more misses than hits for me. I could get 3 indie games for that price, maybe more, and have thrice the opportunity to find one that I enjoy. If I'm spending $70 on one game, though, I'd better be darn sure that I'll like it. There are some games that I'd be willing to spend that kind of money on, especially if they have a lot of content to enjoy. I'd spend $70 on a new Trails game if I had to. Maybe a new Bravely Default or Octopath Traveler too. I'd probably buy a Donkey Kong Country for $70. But a style of game that is definitely not consistently enjoyable for me? I don't think so. The only other Switch 2 exclusive announced that I care about is the Yoshi game, and while it does look cute, there is absolutely no guarantee of that being good either. I still say we have yet to get a Yoshi game that's as good as the original was. One could mention the Bravely Default remake, but I'm sure that'll end up being cross-platform. And it doesn't seem to have enough new or improved from the 3DS version to justify buying it a second time. It's also on a game keycard, which is probably the most controversial part of the Switch 2, and for good reason. Some galaxy brain at Nintendo apparently thought it would be a great idea to have only 64GB SD cards for games and no other sizes, which obliged them to come up with an alternative for developers who didn't want to pay for those. And so in their utter brilliance, they managed to invent something that has all the disadvantages of both physical and digital media. I guess that would make game keycards the media equivalent of ATB, where it's trying to be a hybrid between two things and only manages to suck equally at both. Well, we know what keycard rhymes with. I won't say it, though. Maybe I should start using that as a euphemism. They really should have just offered more cartridge sizes, like maybe a 16GB one for games that don't need the full 64 or something. I know why they did it, to keep production costs down, but was it really worth the trade-off? It's even sillier when games are on keycards because the normal card is too small. These are 64GB cards. Maybe I'm just biased because I'm mostly coming from retro and indie games, but unless your game is trying to simulate NPCs down to their individual amino acids, or your programming is so poorly designed and or optimized that it makes Sute Hakun look like Rekka, what the heck do you need more than 64GB for? But yeah, game keycards are stupid. Now, if there were a Switch 2 exclusive that I wanted that was only on a keycard, what would I do? Would I compromise my principles and get the game anyway, or would I boycott it and miss out on something fun? I'm honestly not sure. It hasn't come up yet. I'll worry about that when or if I actually get a Switch 2, which will definitely not be in 2025, and early 2026 isn't looking promising either. I haven't skipped a Nintendo home console yet, and I can't imagine that this would be the one to break that streak, but currently it just doesn't have much for me. I have PC games, and I have my older consoles, and right now, those suit me just fine. I don't know if I'll ever record anything off a Switch 2. Heck, I haven't even tried my capture card with the Switch 1. But suffice it to say, no, I don't currently have any plans of getting a Switch 2. And speaking of Switch 2, I also plan to switch to Linux at the beginning of next year. Windows 10 stopped getting security updates today, and unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, the computer I have apparently isn't compatible with Windows 11, so I guess it's time to summon the Penguin again. I already installed Linux Mint on my laptop, but I hardly ever use that. Having it on my desktop computer that I use all the time will definitely take some getting used to. Presumably my experience with it at least won't be as miserable as it was back in 2014, when I tried Ubuntu and spent 3 days just trying to get a MIDI to play. I've heard that Linux Mint is about as close to Windows as you can get, so hopefully it'll be fine. I know that a lot of software can be run through Wine, but I'd like to have a native version of as many things as possible. I really want to finish It Takes Two, Super Mario World 2025, and Speedy Gonzales Los Gatos Bandidos by the end of the year so that I don't end up switching operating systems partway through recording. The latter two games at least should be pretty easy to finish on time, based on the stuff I already have recorded, and the first is mostly out of my control. I know exactly how many more levels there are in Speedy Gonzales, and I have a pretty good idea how much of Super Mario World 2025 is left, but I have absolutely no clue how far into It Takes Two we are. What I'm really not sure about is how it will affect my Steam games. I'll definitely want to hold off on getting Octopath Traveler 0 until the turn of the year, and Trails Beyond the Horizon doesn't come out until after the Switch anyway, but how will it affect the 164 games that I already have on there, some of which I haven't played yet, and some of which I'm partway through? I really don't know. I remember trying to install them on my laptop and finding out that it's not just a matter of a simple reinstallation, so I'll ask around and hope that it won't be a problem. There's probably some other multimedia stuff that might be an issue, but I think most of the stuff I use now is cross-platform. One final note, I still haven't figured out a good schedule for streaming. It would be easier if I didn't live with my family, but honestly it would also be easier if I had more charisma in the first place. Yeah, if I tried to be my Pathfinder character in real life, I would not get extra spells per day. I had been doing it on Friday, once in a long while, but now I think Monday might work better. Of course, all the days would work better if, like I said, I weren't still living with my family. I'm working on the living situation. It's hard. I might try to stream next week, though. I'm actually completely free on Monday the 20th, so I will tentatively schedule a stream for that date at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. And I'm the Martian Geek on Twitch as well, if you didn't know already. Anyway, that's all for now.